Hello everyone, I'm the Nerdy Fool and welcome back to Pathfinder Kingmaker. We have finished our exploring of the nearby region, and it's time to let Oleg know that we have defeated the Stag Lord. Restov awaits. I plan to send off right away. I guess we already told him we defeated the Stag Lord, but we haven't yet moved on to Restov. The fog seems to be thinning, but we should wait until it burns off completely. In the meantime, I'll gather some supplies for your journey to make sure you can enjoy your trip back to Restov. And here we are.
Good work. Nice to see I haven't lost my intuition for people. Not many would have managed to set out to the Stolen Lands and return with the Stag Lord's head, but I knew you could handle it.
You haven't lost your intuition. You couldn't tell between me and Tartuccio who was going to be the better leader. Actually, you didn't even really designate a leader. You just were trying to send large groups of people and hope that they would defeat the Stag Lord and amongst themselves decide who their leader was. But sure, your intuition.
Congratulations are in order. Today, you'll receive the title of Baroness before the High Society of Restov, and even Natala Sertova personally. God's bless her. Tomorrow, you'll be able to return to the Stolen Lands if you wish, but this time as a ruler.
Natala Sertova is the sister of King Noleski and one of the most influential politicians in Brevoy. Okay, so we've got the sister of a king here.
But matters of state can wait. For now, enjoy this feast in your honor. All the city leaders are here. It's a great opportunity to make some useful connections.
Okay.
Speaking of connections, let me introduce you to Kasil Eldori. He's my adopted son and apprentice. He's a trustworthy man. I'd like to send him with you as an envoy.
Okay. Kasil, a young half-orc with impeccable poise, performs a textbook perfect bow. This isn't the first. We've heard of a couple of different, ranking individuals who have adopted children / heirs that are of different races, which still strikes me as weird. There was one of the noble houses that's adopted a dwarf that's now his heir, and now Kasil here. I don't know if he's the heir, but adoptive son. What kind of game are you playing? I think I have a right to know. I don't need an envoy. You already know about my encounter with Tartuccio. I think Tartuccio is the bigger question. Do you already know about my encounter with Tartuccio?
Of course. Keston gave me a full report. You dealt with the scoundrel perfectly. It would be naive to think that none of your neighbors will try to stick their hands in your affairs. Especially that sly fox Iravetti.
Yeah. And what kind of game are you playing? I think I have a right to know. Are we specifically asking about sending her son as an envoy, or just in general with giving me a barony? Because the statements they made early on felt like half-truths.
Yes, you certainly have that right. But tell me, how well do you know Brevoy's history or the current political atmosphere? It won't be an easy explanation.
What do I need to know about the history of Brevoy?
What's now called Brevoy was originally two different countries, Rostland and Issia. 200 years ago, they were stuck in constant squabbles. Then, Coral the Conqueror showed up and united the two states into one. Such diplomatic tricks are easy to manage when you have dragons at your disposal.
Wow, that's a statement. So we have Rostland. Fertile region of Rostland is one of the two nations conglomerated into the modern-day state of Brevoy in northeastern Avestan. Known for its master swordsmen and proud, defiant citizenry, Rostland stands on the verge of civil war with its northern neighbor, Issia, which has gained political control over the region since the disappearance of Brevoy's ruling house, Rogarvia, in 4699. And then Issia, one of the two former nations that now comprise Brevoy, the pirate nation of Issia, was known and feared all along the length of the Selena River. Perched on the edge of the Lake of Mists and Veils, Isia had an unforgiving geography that forced its people to be cunning and brutal in order to survive. So you've got a fertile region, basically the breadbasket that's supporting this land, and then Isia, which is a cunning and brutal place of pirates that were forced into one nation by Coral the Conqueror. Coral Rogarvia, or as he became known, Coral the Conqueror, invaded the area that would become modern-day Brevoy in 4499 AR, destroying all who opposed him with the aid of fire-breathing dragons. Coral disappeared around 4509. 10 years later, leaving his descendants to rule Brevoy from the Dragonscale throne at the Ruby Fortress in New Stetven. For exactly 200 years from his conquest, every member of the noble house disappeared in 4699 AR. So he conquered this nation, set up a throne, and ruled for 10 years and then vanished. His descendants took over in his stead, continuing to rule, and then 190 years later, they all vanished, the entire house. And it's left this nation that has been typically at war, now probably wants to break apart again.
The so-called noble houses of Brevoy, mainly Surtova, Orlovsky, and Lebeda, once ruled over Isia. We, the Aldori, ruled Rostland. The royal house Rogarvia, founded by Coral the Conqueror, forced us into obedience. But 200 years isn't long enough to make peace with such a troubled history. Even 2,000 years wouldn't be enough for us to accept Isian rule. Brevoy is a country held together by a thread, and that thread grows ever weaker.
And when you consider that you have elves/half-elves that have longer lifespans, 200 years really isn't that long. There are probably people in these nations that remember back when they were separate. So let's see, Surtova, current ruling family of Brevoy, is the oldest Brevik noble family and the most influential. Their holdings include the environs of Port Ice in northern Isia on the shores of Lake of Mists and Vales. The Surtovans are known as careful and cunning diplomats. Before Coral the Conqueror invaded, the Surtovans were known as pirates and raiders, and the family still has many connections with the pirates and brigands of the region, many of whom are distant relations of the Surtova clan. Their motto is "Ours is the right." And I think the king, or at least the king's sister, is a Surtovan. So King Naleski is probably Surtovan. So when Coral the Conqueror's, well, I guess House Rogarvia disappeared, the Surtovans seem to have stepped in to be the new rulers of Brevoy, which would be why those from Rostland, namely the Aldori, who used to rule over Rostland, don't want to be serving under a pirate king. Makes sense. Orlovsky. House Orlovsky controls northeastern Brevoy. From the Eagle's Watch on Mount Veshka, they try to rise above the petty political maneuvers. As staunch allies of the now disappeared House Rogarvia, this has landed them in a prickly situation. If Lord Pol Orlovsky chooses to rebel against Naleski Surtova, they could potentially align with House Gares and House Medived. These three houses could disrupt supply and travel routes between House Surtova's two power bases, Port Ice and New Stetven. House motto is High Above. Okay, we don't have anything in here about House Gares and House Medived, but House Gares, I think, is Keston's home before he was exiled. And then Lebda is based on the southwest of the Lake Reykjal in Brevoy, controlling the plains and significant portions of the lake's shipping. They're considered to be the Brevik noble family that epitomizes Rostland, having significant Taldan blood and appreciation for fine things and love of sword fighting. Family motto is success through grace. So they are the epitome of Rostland, but she is calling them Isian, or that they... The so-called noble houses of Brevoy once ruled over Isia. They're Rostland. Something about that seems off. The Aldori Yeah, we know about the Sword Lords. And House Rogarvia. Former ruling House of Brevoy, House Rogarvia was founded by descendants of Korra the Conqueror. And then they vanished in the Vanishing. Yeah. Okay. What do I need to know about the current political atmosphere?
We, the Aldori and the great noble houses, spent 200 years under the rule of invaders, the Royal House Rogarvia. We plotted, we schemed, we stabbed each other in the back, but open confrontation was out of the question. But a few years ago, House Rogarvia disappeared. No one knows how or why, but one day, their manors were just empty. And the force that held Brevoy together, that kept us from a bloody feud, ceased to be.
Yeah.
Brevoy is currently ruled by the House Sertova, the former kings of Issia, but their power pales in comparison to that of House Rogarvia when they were here. So now Sertova and Aldori stand facing each other, staring each other in the eye, waiting for the other to draw their sword. It's an untenable situation. No one wants a civil war that would drown Brevoy in blood, but peace between us is also out of the question.
Okay, so you're both expecting the other to start a fight. I mean, as long as you don't rebel, Sertova has already put themselves on the throne. So I don't think they're looking to attack you if you fall in line. I think the problem is that you have already decided you're not going to stay in line, and you're going to rebel. And when that happens, there will be a civil war. But I don't think Sertova is going to start it based on what we're hearing here. As long as things stay as they are, they're happy. So, obviously she'll tell us a bit more, but my guess is either you're hoping to have neighbors in the Stolen Lands that will side with you in a conflict, so therefore, either if war happens, you've got more troops, more power, etc. to push back, or with us being there, maybe it will be enough. Maybe we could be a strong enough faction that could cause House Sertova to agree to your Thrustlin ceding from Issia without conflict. That's my guess of the point of us. But we're a new nation that probably isn't going to have any sort of strong presence anytime soon. And it sounds like you're right on the brink of war. So I don't know. What role do I play in your plans?
Rustland wants to regain its independence, and we will regain it. The power the Issians hold over us is humiliating and costly. And the Sertovas won't give us our freedom without a fight. That is, unless there is some external power that can force everyone to sit down and talk. Do you see where this is going?
Kind of what I said, but I still don't see how we're going to be any sort of external power anytime soon.
The Stolen Lands are disputed territory. Brevoy can't appropriate them without raising protests from each of the neighboring states. However, if some brave people were to found independent states on that land, it would be another matter entirely. My hope is that you and your future neighbors, Baron Hannes Drelev and Captain Mager Varn, will become our allies. But even your neutrality would introduce a powerful counterbalance to the aggression of the noble houses. Maybe, with your help, the inevitable division of Brevoy can occur without too much pain.
So Mager Varn, one of the competitors who successfully completed Jamandi Aldori's task and received a barony as a reward. Also, Baron Hannes Drelev. He has a baron title already. Captain Mager Varn does not. So was he already a baron and you've granted him a second barony? Or, I mean, I don't know of any other way that you could have a baron title without having a barony. Those kind of go together. But giving an existing baron a new barony feels like a huge power move. Like, it grants him a lot of additional power. I don't know. So you're not setting up just a single barony. You're funding 3 baronies in the Stolen Lands. And so even if not all of us ally with you, if most of us do, or at least remain neutral, that's something. Don't the Sword Lords have any other allies capable of playing this role? It's a fair statement. You've been around long enough and are well known for your nobility. Surely there's someone who would side with you in this conflict.
We hope to get some help from the Maivani Eldori, the descendants of the Sword Lords who have fled from Coral's rage to build a new nation in the south. But the Isians know this well, and are doing everything they can to deny us this help. I won't go into details, but if my intelligence is correct, if a civil war starts in Brevoy, Maivan will be too occupied with its own inner troubles to interfere.
So Maivon is one of the more stable of the River Kingdoms. It began as a refuge for the Aldori Sword Lords, who fled Rosslyn during the rule of Coral the Conqueror. Many Sword Lords settled there in Maivon, bringing with them the experience and knowledge of the ancient discipline of the Sword Lords. Warriors from as far away as Garund make pilgrimages to Maivon to study their secrets. To earn the right to stay, the applicant must pass a series of increasingly difficult duels. So Isians will make sure Maivon can't aid you, but still, you should have other allies besides just the other Sword Lords. Seems weird. And what part does Restov play in this game?
Restov is a free city, proud of its independence from everyone, including the Aldori Sword Lords. But when it comes to Rostland's liberation, our goals align. This whole plan is our joint creation with Lord Mayor Yosef Selemius.
The Free City seems weird to me. Restov is one of the 2 largest cities in the fertile region of Rostland in the southern Brevoy. Like, it's a city of this nation. So I'm guessing by Free City they don't mean it's independent. It has a different meaning. I don't know. If Natala is already here, why did she let you grant me the title?
Actually, she could still intervene and disrupt the proceedings. But she's a Sertova. Their games are always complex and multi-layered. They're always looking for ways to turn defeat into victory. If she's decided to allow you to become a Baroness, it means she already has some idea of how she can turn it to her benefit. Let's consider how she could do so.
I mean, obviously she's hoping that I can join her side at your expense. Like, you set up my barony, and then if I side with her, that's a double hit on you. Even if I'm neutral, you've wasted a bunch of money setting up my barony, and if I don't come to your aid or side with you, that's a loss for you.
Maybe she understands that Rostland will inevitably separate, and she doesn't want a war. In that case, new states in the Stolen Lands give the Isians a reason to sit down and talk without losing face. But that's an optimistic view, and truth be told, it doesn't quite match up with what we've come to expect from the Sertovas.
Yeah, that seems very positive and therefore unlikely.
The more likely scenario is that Natala wants to win you over to her side. If war breaks out and at least one of you stabs us in the back, Rostland will be surrounded by enemies. That might be enough to bring about our downfall. But you would fall first, and your newly formed states would be left in ruin. The Isians always like to have someone around to pull their chestnuts out of the fire for them. A piece of friendly advice? Don't do business with House Sertovas, no matter what promises they make you. Any deal with the noble houses is a deal with devils.
Okay. I'll ignore the fact that you basically said that the Aldori Sword Lords were nobles as well. Nobles of your side. I've already forgotten. Is Rostland? Yeah, Rostland is the half of Brevoy, yes. But you're basically nobles of Rostland. But yes, I agree that their goal is probably to get one of the three of us to side with them against you. So they're allowing all three of us to become barons in the hope that they can get us to join their side. Would we fall first? Maybe. We don't have any major armies or walls or anything to my knowledge, so it'd be easy for us to be taken out. But I would assume most of your effort will be fighting against the Isians. To break off part of your army to go back and attack us would be dangerous on your half. It depends on how much of a threat we were stabbing from the back. But again, we're new. I doubt we could be any sort of real threat. Makes this whole situation seem weird that they're putting so much effort. If this was setting us up so that, 10, 20 years from now, we can be a power for this conflict, cool. But if this is a conflict that's going to happen in the near frame, like a few months from now, how big of a force could we be? So what happens next?
How should I know? We're in the middle of a big game. And today, you move from being merely a piece on the board to being one of the players.
That's fair. Well, thank you for the explanation.
I hope you have a better understanding of what's at stake.
I'm not going to insult her by saying I don't need an envoy. So I think I'll just say thank you. I'm going to speak with the guests.
Enjoy your evening. When you're ready for the official part, come to me.
Okay. So we've got a few named people around, including our companions. I guess we'll start with Lander. A handsome, well-dressed young man, about 17 years old, looks at you with a polite smile. So, you're the famous slave of the Staglords gang, soon to be a baroness. Pleased to meet your acquaintance. My name is Lander. Just Lander, no last name, no title? Well, let's just say I'm here incognito. Under my circumstances, it's wise to keep one's lineage to oneself. Truth be told, that's precisely what I wanted to speak with you about. You see, I am an heir to one of Brevoy's noble houses. I won't say which, but believe me, a newly appointed baroness with no connections would do well to have a friend like me. I travel the country in secret, without servants, so I can see it for myself. Not from a carriage window, but face to face with the people. My family would never approve, of course, but then I never asked. I need to know Brevoy if I'm going to rule a part of it someday. I know Jamandi wants to impose her stepson on you as an emissary of Brevoy. Refuse. Take me instead. Don't look at my age. While they may have trained this half-orc to swing a sword, I've been training to rule since I was a child. I'll be of far greater use to you, both now and in the future, after I have a firm position in my family. Are you from Restovic nobility? Oh no, I'm not from here. I'm just visiting, you could say. I wanted to see for myself the heroes who managed to conquer the frontierlands, and the Lord Mayor was kind enough to invite me to this wonderful party. So the Mayor knows who you are. What do you think the chances are he'll tell me? Tell me again what you're doing here? Okay, same thing, and what you want from me, same thing. I'll consider your proposal. Yes, do so, and carefully. I'm not likely to take a giant unknown with me. If you had told me who you were, I'd be more inclined. But just saying, trust me, I'm important. Turn down the son of the Aldoris because I'm probably important. I wouldn't lie to you. It's not super convincing. They call this a feast. I'd show them some real festivities if they'd let me. What? Murderer? Probably. Maker Varn, you're one of the new barons. This man is obviously more comfortable on the battlefield than in the company of nobles. He's well built, but the expensive waistcoat he's wearing doesn't quite fit properly, as though it was borrowed. He has a few pale scars across his face, and his dark hair is drawn into an unkempt ponytail, with a few streaks of gray running through it. He greets you with a broad smile and a firm handshake. Let me introduce myself. I'm Mager Varn, the new ruler of Dunsword, your neighbor to the east. And like you, I'm about to be a baron. Great job with the Stag Lord, by the way. Not everyone could exterminate a whole gang of bandits with such a small team. Dunsword. The frontier region known as Dunsword on the easternmost side of the Stolen Lands borders the steppes of Casmaron. Dunsword is characterized by low grassy plains circled by mountain ranges and is dotted with the ancient structures of lost civilizations. Long ago, a bustling empire reigned over these lands. Nowadays, all that remains of the ancient glory are crumbling ruins and the half-destroyed words of alien wisdom that are inscribed on the walls of unknown tombs. Seems like a cool area. How did you earn the title of Baron? Truth be told, my team and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Jumanji Aldori needed someone reliable to take and hold the territory. I'm the captain of a mercenary team. If that wasn't clear, Barnling Host. Have you heard of us? No? No matter. We've done work for Jumanji before. This time, the task was simple. We just waltzed into the area, cleared it out of the most brazen monsters, and built a small fort to hold the place. And for that, a barony and land to own. It was a dream job. How do you feel being noble? Looking at his rich clothes, Varn smirks. Like a pheasant on a plate. I've killed all kinds of monsters, but this is the first time I've so strongly felt like turning away could get me eaten. He nods towards an arrogant man in the other corner of the room. See that lad? Baron Drelev. He's not like us. Who knows what generation of Baron he is? Didn't even shake my hand. You and me? We're like dirt beneath his boots. That's why those like us, the newly made nobility, need to stick together. Otherwise, he'd take my land and yours in the blink of an eye. It was nice meeting you. Farewell. Goodbye. Once you've settled in, come pay us a visit. Will do. Pour up to the brim so that... Oh, I must be drunk. I forgot the line. Keston, well, Tartuccio hick, well, scum. And how did we... maybe I had one too many. Their wine is alright, nice and strong, but the appetizers, barely a mouthful. Christian, these people are not just celebrating. It seems your new feat has given them a new hope. Cassie's up here. Haven't seen you in a while.
Will you drink with me?
You see Cassie approaching, the tiefling you met during the battle at Jumanji Aldori's mansion. As she draws near, she places one of the cups of wine she's holding into your hand. Of course to beauty, of course to my success. You want to get right to business. I mean, toasting to myself feels weird. I have yet to be a baroness, and already it seems that someone wishes to poison me. I'm not going to insult her. Of course, to beauty.
To beauty. It sweetens our happy days and brings solace to our dark and sorrowful ones.
Cassie smiles and taps her cup to yours.
But jokes aside, I came to apologize. I know the words I said in our conversation with Lady Aldery might have offended you, but this was not my intention. The lessons life has dealt me were not easy. I've learned to be wary of new acquaintances, which is why I've refused to join your party. I hope you will forgive me for this weakness and for my harsh words. And I hope you will hear me out, for I have something to tell you.
Cassie stops smiling. No need to apologize. I don't expect everyone I meet to immediately fall under my charms and entrust me with all their secrets. Apology accepted. What do you want to tell me? I'll listen to what you have to say, and then I will decide what to think of your repentance. Or you've shown your duplicity once. I don't want to have anything further to do with you. I don't think she did anything terribly wrong. I think the whole thing was that she said she would wait to fight with us. And then when we got through the fire, she was just already inside starting the fight rather than waiting to talk to us, I guess. And then Lindsay threw a big fit about how she didn't wait for us and then called us strangers. And we kind of are strangers. Anyway, no need to apologize. I don't expect everyone I meet to immediately fall under my charms and entrust me with all their secrets.
How amusing. Usually those who don't seek affection are the very ones who receive it. Anyway, enough sweet talk. There is something important I wanted to tell you.
Cassie looks down at her cup for a moment.
As it happens, I came across some very valuable information. What brave conqueror of these wild lands wouldn't be intrigued by news of an ancient shrine, possibly full of great treasures? A place such as this was discovered by my old friends from Kadira, and it just so happens to be located in the lands that today become rightfully yours. My friends lack the courage to enter the shrine and seek the treasure, but what will stop us? We who know the taste of battle and have been singed by the same fire.
Jesse stops looking at you expectantly. What could be better than a treasure hunt? I'm ready. Sounds tempting, but I'll need to think about it. Or forgive me if your promises are not reassuring. I have no wish to have anything more to do with you. What could be better than a treasure hunt? I'm ready. Yeah, if there's an ancient shrine full of treasure. Sounds fun.
I'm sure you'd like to finally gain your official title and celebrate your victory. And I don't like noisy parties and ceremonies. Find me when you return to your dominion. I'll rent a house in your capital. We can discuss the details of our expedition there.
Cassie laughs quietly, fiddling with her cup.
So long, friend. I'll call you so today because soon enough, all you'll be hearing is, Your Grace, Your Grace, Your Grace.
Saluting you with the cup, the tiefling girl steps back and disappears in the shadows between the columns. So, we'll meet up with her later, I guess, to go on a treasure hunt. Ah, yes, I see good old Restov hasn't changed a bit. Even the smell in the streets is the same. Natalia Sertova, so you're the sister of the king. And a Sertovan. Natalia Sertova is discussing something with an unfamiliar old lady in a low voice. Upon noticing you, she breaks into a sugary sweet smile. You were not only tough, but quick. Well, congratulations on your victory. Enjoy it, while you can. Is this a threat? What do you think awaits me? Or it was a pleasure meeting you, may I take my leave? Is that a threat? I would never. I simply wish to warn you in case you didn't fully realize the fate that awaits you in your barony. That sounds like a threat. What do you think awaits me? Nothing good, I fear. The Eldori, our dearest friends, didn't deem it necessary to inform you of their plans, I assume. You see, they're preparing to separate from Brevoy. It will not be a peaceful process. They lack the strength currently, hence using this legal loophole to create some independent allies. Once the civil war breaks out, your lands will be the first to endure a strike from Brevoy's forces. Perhaps they'll erect a memorial stone in independent Restov to honor you. Well, I wouldn't count on that, even that, really. You think that when civil war breaks out, they're going to attack us? That is ridiculous. Again, my statement before of even if we were using our meager forces to attack them in the back, it probably wouldn't be worth it for them to send troops down to us. Therefore, separating them off the front, which is fighting against you guys. The idea that even if we weren't attacking and we were just neutral, that they would break off their troops to attack us, to seize our land for what purpose? If we had armies, then we could resist them. And if we didn't have armies, what are they hoping to gain from conquering us? I mean, land and resources, but in the middle of an ongoing war, there's not a lot you can do with land and resources. You kind of have to make do with what you have already. Setting up the infrastructure is just not going to be worth it. Pretty sure everyone can agree that what you're saying right here is a lie. That's just not going to happen. What would you propose? In your situation, the most reasonable course of action would be to align yourself with the lawful rulers of Brevoy, the noble houses. The Eldori won't dare to rebel, knowing they will immediately be entrapped. You could help Brevoy avoid a civil war, while simultaneously enjoying some well-deserved peace in your lands. I mean, I can see that. We don't necessarily need to take sides, and if we did sign up with the noble houses, the civil war wouldn't happen and peace would continue. it does mean that Rosalind would remain, you know, subservient to the noble houses, which isn't good, but it would keep a tentative peace in the region, which has a point. But I'm not convinced that the best course of action for the local region is to keep Sertova, the pirate kings and queens, in charge. Even if short term there's less bloodshed. I believe Jamandi has already attempted to impose a guard on you as an emissary. I'm guessing her low-born stepson, the greenskin boy, Cassil. It's up to you, of course, but I would recommend you a different envoy. Please meet Chandra Merve, an experienced diplomat who's more familiar with Brevoy's politics than any brawler could be. The old woman standing next to Natala gives you a slight bow. I would be happy to help you establish diplomatic relations with Brevoy. I'll consider your proposal. Think on it. Do not make any hasty decisions. Alright. We'll hold off on talking to you guys.
I do what I must.
So we've got the option of bringing Chandra Merve, or Lander, or Castle as our envoy. So far. There might be others. A handsome man with weather-beaten face grasps your hand tightly in his rough, calloused palms. Unlike the rest of the guests in their festive clothes, he wears a simple robe. The only luxury you see on him is a holy symbol of Erastil, made of solid gold. The other guests look at him with respect, some bordering on awe. You have a holy symbol of solid gold? Wow. That's fancy. Congratulations on your victory, he says in a deep voice. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Asvanki Kig, High Priest of Erastil in Restov. Do many people in Restov venerate Erastil? They revere many gods in Restov. They pray to Abadar, patron of cities, and Pharasma, gatherer of souls. There are also some more rare cults, but there's no denying the stag god has the largest congregation here, and no wonder. People here have lived off farming and hunting for centuries. You're dressed surprisingly simply for such a festive occasion. The corner of the priest's mouth turns up in a faint smile. The nobles dressed in silks and satins stand out from the poor. A priest wears the simple robe to stand out from the nobles. I saw how you fought beside Jamandi that night. Your god granted you impressive power. Oh, so he was there in that fight. I didn't specifically see him or where he was, but I wonder if he was like in the center circle with Jamandi. I don't know. Yes, I used to serve Erastil on the battlefield, but those days are long past. Now I call on his power to heal those who've fallen from roof more often than anyone wounded by a sword. Of course, someone has to roam the forest and slay monsters, but I am more useful to my congregation here, attending to more mundane affairs, like hospitals, shelters, and charity fairs. Bringing law into the Stolen Lands is a difficult endeavor. I would be grateful for any help you could spare. This is a truly noble undertaking. I believe our community will be able to provide you with a reasonable assistance. We will help you construct a shrine in your capital free of charge. That sounds great to me. It was an honor to meet you. Goodbye. Or I'll still keep you. Alright. Aha, to victory, to freedom. Bottoms up, yes. And Octavia? Try the eclairs, they're delicious. Alright, Drelev, you are the other Baron. And you don't have a portrait. Maegor Varn did. So are you going to be killed off soon, or in some other way made unimportant in the story? The man's gorgeous clothes hide rippling muscles beneath them. He looks past your ear, obviously bored. Baron Hannes Drelev, he says offhandedly, emphasizing the word Baron, and you must be the Staglord Butcher. I'm sorry, I quite forgot your name, but you took out the Staglord and his gang, and so Sword Lord Jamandi is granting you permission to take his place, right? Well, congratulations. My lands lie to the west of yours. I suppose we're neighbors now. Yes, I defeated the Staglord. Pray tell, what did you do to deserve your new dominion? Sounds a bit rude. A smirk appears on the Baron's face. I don't need to deserve or prove anything. Countless generations of my glorious ancestors have done it so for me. If I had a slightly bigger army, Sword Lord Jamandi would have simply given all of the stolen lands to me. Alas, I don't have so many soldiers at my disposal, so she had to urgently make barons of the likes of you and Varn. So you have no army and no special merits. You were just given the land for being pretty? Okay, that's very rude, but he's also being rude, so it's kind of fair. Under other circumstances, I'd have you whipped for such words, but let's not ruin Lady Aldori's celebration, If you want so badly to measure merits, we can do so another time. You're not very polite for a nobleman. Politeness must be deserved. Goodbye. Not even deigning to reply, Baron Drelev turns around and looks away. Yeah, bit of a rude individual. Aram. A feast in times of pestilence, a ludicrous attempt to sink into reverie, to digress from contemplating one's own insignificance.
I'm there.
Alright, Castle. Anything further to say? Today's a historic day for Restov, and maybe for all of Brevoy. And Yosef? Yosef Salemius, an older man with full sideburns, looks at you with interest, though through a golden eyeglass. Well now, if it isn't the hero of the festivities, the protege of our dear Jamandi. You pulled this all off quite cleverly. I confess, I wasn't convinced your enterprise would succeed. I even bet a bottle of my best Pitaxian wine against you, but I'm happy to admit I was wrong. The Aldori have always been adept at finding new talent. I don't believe we've been introduced. So it would seem I am Yosef Salemius, Lord Mayor of Restov. I rule this town and the adjacent lands. As your northern neighbor, I hope we can look forward to a long and fruitful friendship. So you rule in Restov, and what about the Aldori? Yeah, because the Aldori are nobles, I think. Brevoy's politics seem complex and incomprehensible to many. Here, in this part of Rosland, the spirit of northern freedom still lives. We are loyal to the throne, of course. May the gods prolong the life of His Highness. But here, far from the dominion of the great houses, we have our own way of life. It is especially important now, after the certain events that I probably don't need to name. Okay, so you are loyal to King Sertova, in theory, but you are setting up this whole venture to break away from the Isians, and therefore the Sertovans. The Aldori Sword Lords used to rule Rosland. They're still the largest landowners and main military force in the region, but it's not for nothing that Restov is called Free City. That's what I'm curious about. We're proud to choose the Lord Mayor among the citizens, considered not by their lineage, but by their own merits. So you're a free city because you have elections for the mayor, rather than being ruled by nobles. Okay. And the events you're talking about, I'm assuming that's the vanishing of the noble house. What kind of events were you talking about? Mayor Salemius gives you a patronizing smile. Why, an aspiring politician needs to be well informed. I'm talking, of course, about the disappearance of the ruling house Rogarvia. Can you imagine it? Old man Coral conquered our lands 2 centuries ago. It would be a shameless lie to say that nobody wished his royal house could just disappear into thin air. But once that exact thing happened, turned out nobody was ready for it. It's probably very true. Poof, all over the country, every member of the royal house disappeared without a trace. Nobody knows what happened. It is a mystery, but a mystery pregnant with opportunity for everyone. And how are things in Restov? I don't want to boast, but things have been going well in recent years. Trade prospers, the population grows, and the citizens are happy. Although recently, especially after the disappearance of House Rogarvia, more and more troublemakers have been appearing, and people are talking about the most shocking things. But those sorts of rumors aren't worthy of your attention. It was nice meeting you. Goodbye. Please wait a moment. Your young barony will need resources to establish itself, and from what I've been told, you're somewhat in need of financial assistance. I could organize and supply everything you need for the construction, and spread out the cost on extremely favorable terms. You're offering me a loan. I'm unsure about the favorable terms. Getting a head start on our economy would be good. I need to know what you're talking about. I could immediately procure, let's say, 500 cartloads of building supplies. I'm sure that would give you a good start. In exchange, I would ask a small favor. Until you repay the debt in full, you simply assume the obligation of contracting building services through Restov's Builders Guild. Do we have a deal? So, you'll give me building supplies. Not for free, but on a loan, and until I pay it off, I'm forced to go through your Builders Guild. Potentially with higher prices. Like, I wouldn't be forced into using them if they were the best deal. I would just choose them willingly. So, by the fact you're trying to lock me in, you know they're not the best deal. And since I don't know how long it'll take to pay that off, being long-term locked into that feels risky. Though the additional starting supplies is probably useful. Oh, part of me really wants to take it, but part of me... I don't know. I don't want to be too tied down to Restov either. Like, in the same way I don't want to be tied down with Sertova, I'm more okay with Rostov and Rosalind. But I kind of want to be independent. And the more ties I have to them, the more they can hold over me. Thank you for the offer, but I can't accept it. It is your choice, of course. I just figured I'd mention it. I'll probably accept your offer in the end. I'll need the resources for construction. No. It was nice meeting you. Goodbye. The feeling is mutual, I assure you. I look forward to hearing more of your dazzling successes soon. He seems like a nice guy. Like, I like them more than the Sertovans. They seem more upfront about what's actually going on. So now all we have left to do is talk to Jamandi Aldori. I believe when we do, she's going to take us to our barony, potentially. So I think I'm going to save that for next time. Yeah, it's possible that there would be a pause before we immediately get kicked there. But yeah, we'll stop here. Next time we'll talk to Jamandi Aldori and see what happens with the rest of this feast. But for now, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye.